You can just go to school based off not having income. Yes, it's available for everyone.
I was so grateful to be awarded, and what I thought was just going to be a monetary investment in me turned out to be so much more.
Being introduced to the multiple disciplines of education really opened my eyes and gave me a new perspective in life.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Nice to see everybody today. I know a lot of you in the room, but for those I don't, I'm Scott Himmelstein, and I'm president of the Board of Governors of our California Community College system, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 12th annual Dr. John W. Rice Diversity and Equity Award ceremony. I would also like to introduce some special guests today, some you'll be hearing from later, but first and foremost, our very special friend, Clara Rice. Thank you for being here today. I would also like to introduce and thank Keitha Mills, who is the CEO of our Foundation for California Community Colleges. This event is totally supported by the foundation, so let's all thank Keitha and her crew for putting this on. We also have some friends here today from the legislature, from Senator Tony Strickland's office, Capitol Director Kurt Hudson. Kurt, where are you? Thank you for being here. We also have Sarah Arce, Legislative Assistant for Assembly Member Doss Williams. Sarah, hello, okay. And we have Daniel Enns, who is Legislative Assistant for Assembly Member Wilma Carter. Thank you for being here. Now, our national anthem will be performed this morning by Brandy Howdigi. Brandy, where are you? There we go.
If you would all please stand. Thanks. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you very much. Great voice. Wow. At this point, I would like to bring up the Vice President of the Board of Governors, Manuel Baca. Manuel Baca is a double threat to us. He is both a professor of Government at Rio Hondo College, as well as a member of the Board of Trustees at Mount SAC, and a terrific Vice President. Manuel?
Thank you, President Himmelstein. Good morning. It's an honor to be here with you today and speak about John Rice and what he meant to the board, the community colleges, and our system's millions of students. Dr. Rice was not only a former member of the Board of Governors, he was a pastor, a counselor, an educator, an activist, a husband, a father, and a mentor. He was born November 3rd, 1923 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. His father, a Presbyterian pastor, instilled in him the desire to help others. Dr. Rice's letter said of his father, "He was my greatest role model." Young John was also encouraged to go to college. After attending Stillman College, he earned a history degree in 1946 at Johnson C. Smith University in North Carolina, and later received his divinity degree there. Dr. Rice moved to Birmingham, Alabama to become the director of education at Westminster Presbyterian Church, which was founded by his father. He also worked as a coach, a teacher, and a counselor in the public schools. During this time, his only child, Condoleezza, was born. In 1964, Dr. Rice moved his family to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, to accept the position of Dean of Students at Stillman College. From 1969 to 1985, he was a professor and served as Assistant Vice Chancellor at the University of Denver. Following the death of his first wife, Angelina, his daughter persuaded him in 1985 to move to Palo Alto to start a new life. Dr. Rice then held academic positions at Stanford, and in 1989, he married Clara Bailey as school principal. He was appointed by Governor Pete Wilson to the California Community College Board of Governors in 1992 and served on the board until his death in 2000. Always driven by a powerful desire to help change lives for the better. As a board member, Dr. Rice was a forceful advocate for diversity, equity, and student success in community colleges. He influenced policies and programs to ensure historically underrepresented students got the opportunity to succeed. He always said that students who can truly succeed should get the help they need so they don't fall through the cracks. He dedicated his life to making sure that we do not fail those students, young and older, who seek an education to better themselves and their lives and their families. Thank you very much. All right, I left the podium too early. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you a man who has been a professor, a community college president, a state assemblyman, a senator, and I think there's a lot of other stuff that could be said about him. He has been a great leader for us in the community colleges. Our chancellor, Dr. Jack Scott.
Well, thank you, Dr. Baca. Thinking about Dr. Baca and thinking about Scott Himmelstein just reminds me of what a wonderful Board of Governors we have in the community college. I always tell people that when they ask about the board, about how they exercise great leadership, they're extremely cooperative, there's no rancor at all among members of the Board of Governors. They've been supportive in every way, and they do all this civic activity simply on a volunteer basis. They come up here on a bi-monthly basis. Occasionally we meet in other places. For instance, in September, we're going to be meeting down at San Diego City College. But this is a great board, and I want to compliment them for what they do. And this occasion is always a very exciting occasion to me. I think it epitomizes what the community colleges are all about. and to think about the contribution that John Rice made to community colleges, and what a tremendous role model and spokesperson for diversity and equality. You know, our country was founded back in 1776, the Declaration of Independence, and in many ways the key sentence in that is one that says, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal." Now, the United States has been imperfect in the fulfillment of that particular statement, but it's the ideal. And I think the community colleges are the very expression of that ideal. We're the most democratic institution of higher education in California and in America. It's a unique American institution begun in 1906 in Joliet, Illinois, more or less as an extension of high school, 2 years beyond high school. But my goodness, how it grew after that. Coming to California only 4 years later to Fresno City College, and today we have 112 community colleges in California, educating 2.6 million students. The largest, and shall I say, the greatest institution of higher education in the United States. We are so proud to be part of that, because you see, as I point out sometime in my speeches, you know, the University of California takes the top 12.5%, CSU takes the top 33.33%, and we take the top 100%. We are open door, and that's where the single mother who's struggling to raise a family finds her opportunity of education. That's where the recent immigrant often comes to learn how to speak the English language and to climb the ladder of success. And sometimes the person who didn't do so well in high school suddenly discovers herself or himself as a result of coming to the community college. So we are the great open door institution. And there are a couple of things that have happened this year that I think help fulfill that dream. A year ago, we formed a Student Success Task Force, and that task force was representative, 20-member group. They met with some of the national and state experts on student success, and we worked on that and came up with 22 recommendations, which were overwhelmingly endorsed by our Board of Governors. But there are two parts of those recommendations that I call to your attention that I think will help in this whole issue of equality and diversity. One is our decision to have priority enrollment, saying that the first-year students need a better chance to get into class, because in this time, unfortunately, of the rationing of education by the shrinking resources of the state of California, we found that a lot of first-year students weren't getting in. Well, those first-year students, 48% of them are in the historically underrepresented groups of African Americans and Latinos. And we were saying, in effect, we believe that those persons who maybe come to us for personal enrichment, which is a good goal, but that's not quite as important for somebody to, say, take a course in French when they're going to Paris, or someone who maybe is taking golf now for the second or third time, as to give those first-year students the opportunity to get a class. And so we're going to try to institute priority enrollment. But we said that every college would also have a success scorecard. Now, this success scorecard would not only indicate the progress that's being made, but it would be broken down by ethnicity, so that if we see that in colleges perhaps there's an achievement gap, then it will be an incentive for that college to address that achievement gap and to do better in terms of addressing the needs of underrepresented groups. But a second thing that happened this year that I want to applaud is the fact that the legislature enacted the DREAM Act. Now, what is the DREAM Act? Well, a friend of mine who served with me in the Senate was a tireless advocate of the DREAM Act, Gil Cedillo. And at first, I recall when I was in the Senate, we enacted Assembly Bill 540, which said that those who were children of undocumented immigrants who came to this country maybe at age 2 or 3, had attended at least 3 years of high school and graduated from high school in California, would no longer be considered as out-of-state students. And I remember the testimony of some of those individuals, the tears that streamed down their face as they talked about how much they wanted a college education, and yet the out-of-state tuition was beyond their reach. So we enacted that bill. But this year, we enacted a bill in the legislature that also said that institutional financial aid and state financial aid would be permitted for those students. And so those students, as a result of that, those students who have lived here for years, who believe that America is their home, but had the unfortunate accident of the fact that instead of being born here, they came here at maybe age 2 or 3, are now having the opportunity in California community colleges. In fact, over 70% of the Latino students in California attend the California community colleges. So it's an institution that mirrors the population of the state of California. We're proud of that fact. We're proud of the fact that, yes, California is what we might call a majority-minority state, simply saying that people of color represent now more than 50% of the population, and they represent more than 50% of the students in California community colleges. So diversity, equity, certainly was a theme that we find in Dr. John Rice, and it's a theme we believe in California community colleges. As I said, I think we're the most democratic institution of higher education in the United States, and we're proud of that, the fact that we have such a diversity, such a richness that attend our colleges, young, old, those of different ethnicities, those who are disabled in some cases. All of those find a welcome door at California community colleges. And we're so proud today to have Clara Rice with us. She has attended all 12 of the ceremonies that have honored John Rice and his great stand for equity and diversity. And I'm proud of the programs we're going to talk about today, we're going to hear about, where you actually see the practices of equity and diversity in California community colleges. So at this time, I would like to ask Clara Rice to step forward and receive this token of our appreciation and say a few words at this time.
Thank you, and good morning. What a pleasure, what an honor, and what a blessing it is to be here once again in celebration of my late husband's Diversity and Equity Award ceremony. It has been 12 years since John's death, and I am so grateful to so many of you for keeping his memory alive over these 12 years. And they have been such a wonderful and worthy ceremonies. I can remember when we first got started, we gave these awards in a regular board meeting and a board room. And look where we are now. Beautiful music, good food, smiling faces, the whole ambience is just so wonderful. We have come a long way, baby. Please allow me to take some time to acknowledge and thank some key people who have made all of this possible. The Board of Governors, who continue to hold and support these awards. The Foundation for California Community Colleges, who have financially supported this event from the very beginning of these awards. The Communication Division, which is the Rice Awards Committee, and Paul Feast, Paige Dorr, Mark Billingsley, Robert Ferguson, Gary Alexander, and the many Rice Award volunteers. I am sure that this committee has put hundreds of hours into making this event possible, and what a fine job they do each year. I am also sure that this is a major task and event for the Board of Governors and the state's chancellor's office. I would like to thank Chancellor Jack Scott for allowing his staff to work on this event. And I want to wish him a fantastic retirement. I understand that he has given 58 years of public service, serving in many roles as faculty member administrator, president of several community colleges, an assembly member, state senator, and a chancellor. Wow, does he deserve a wonderful retirement. I would also like to recognize two people in the audience who served at the same time as my late husband. I don't know, is Gus Gashad is here today? If so, raise your hand. And he was vice chancellor. And Tom Nussbaum, who was the former chancellor. Lastly, I want to give a big thanks to Tosh. I don't even know what Tosh's last name is. I always call him Tosh, who has been my rock and support in attending this event over the 12 years. And I understand that he will be retiring at the end of next month, August 31st. With Tosh and Jack retiring, I'm not sure what will become of the John Rice Award, but I'm hopeful that some awards will be continued to be given to deserving colleges who are doing outstanding work in diversity and equity, which is very vital and should never be forgotten. This brings me to the awards that are being given today, which indeed speaks well of true diversity and equity in our California community colleges. I would like to congratulate Skyline College for the Spark Point program, which is so needed in our present financial crisis. Those who implemented the service and resources that Spark Point provides should be commended, and I can't wait to hear more about it. Another award recipient is Amen. If you have noticed, this Amen is in the California Community College. As you notice, there's a little A, a little 2 at the top of the A, and I had to ask how to pronounce this A2Men. Before I was a principal, I was a science and math teacher, so my first thought was this A2 was A in the second power. But I wasn't too far off because my science brain kicked in, and I was wondering what was the 2 for. And I noticed that there were 2 A's in the acronym, I think African American. So rather than to use 2 A's, they put A with a little 2 at the top. I think I'm right. I figured that out myself. This educational network and development of African American males is a program my husband would have loved to hear about, for he had a passion for the advancement of African American males in our society. And congratulations to the young men who had this vision and who acted upon it. And I wait in anticipation to hear more. And lastly, I want to congratulate Santa Barbara City College for their transition program, extended opportunity programs and services. Now, this is where my passion lies, giving someone a second chance, especially for those who have been released from the California criminal justice system. And they are given the therapy and education to help them pursue even higher education goals. And I'm waiting to hear more about these. These 3 awards so justly encompass my husband's passion and work. Even though I refer to my husband as a gentle giant, but he can be a roaring lion when it comes to inequalities. Especially if it's with students and students who are trying to make it. and this would be such a great honor to him. I pray that each of these recipients will be blessed to continue their good work. So again, I thank everyone who has had a part in making things happen in these 12 years. And I want God to bless you, each of you, and I thank you for coming and for listening. Thank you.
Next, I wanted to share a letter that was sent to me by former Secretary Condoleezza Rice, who unfortunately could not be with us today, but as you know, does try to get to these awards and has gotten to these awards several times. So here it is. Dear Scott, I am honored that the Foundation for California Community Colleges and the Board of Governors continues to recognize the memory of my father through the John W. Rice Diversity Award. The Foundation's work to support equity and equality honors my father as a tireless advocate for the transformational power of education. I would like to congratulate specifically Spark Point from Skyline College, EOPS Transitions Program from Santa Barbara City College, and A2 Mend for the California Community Colleges. Thank you for your hard work and dedication, the sum of which is a fitting tribute to the memory of my father. I would also like to thank Dr. Jack Scott for his tireless work as Chancellor of the California Community Colleges. I wish Dr. Scott all the best in his future endeavors. Sincerely, Condoleezza Rice. Now it's my great pleasure to introduce a gentleman that I had the pleasure of meeting this morning, Julian Nava. Dr. Nava, who is our guest speaker this morning, is an emeritus professor of history at Cal State Northridge and is one of the department's founding members, having taught there from 1957 to 2000. After growing up in Los Angeles, he served as a combat air crewman in the United States Navy Air Corps before attending and graduating from East Los Angeles Community College, one of our own. He also graduated with a history degree from Pomona College and earned a doctorate in Latin American history from Harvard University. In 1967, Nava ran for the Los Angeles School Board of Los Angeles Unified School Board of Education and won, becoming the first Latino to serve on the countywide board that represents 13 cities, including Los Angeles. He served on the board until 1979. In 1980, he was appointed U.S. Ambassador to Mexico by President Jimmy Carter and is the first Mexican American to hold the position. In 2011, the Dr. Julian Nava Learning Academy opened in Los Angeles for middle school students. The academy has 3 schools, one focusing on science, one on business and technology, and the other on arts and music, with 3 separate principals and staffs. Quite an honor, Dr. Nava. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Julian Nava.
It's a pleasure and an honor to be here with you today, because everything that the community colleges do is so very dear to my heart, being one of its products. I want to share some thoughts and ideas with you. I love music, all kinds of music. Although my favorite is Mozart. No one beats Mozart, with one exception. My 4-year-old grandson, who calls out, "Grandpa, tell me another story." And I have to go back and come up with another story about 3 animals: Smokey, Hopalong, and Happy Bear. I bring up Leo because I'm concerned about the state of the union that our generation is passing on to my 6 grandchildren and yours. It's kind of a mess. This recession will be long-lasting. And the institution that we're here talking about is suffering, isn't it? I like to travel. I've been around the world, from the North Shore of Alaska to the tip of Patagonia, from Scotland to Tibet. I've seen China, all of it. Fasten your safety belts. I was fortunate enough to drive through behind the Iron Curtain to see for myself what life is like in a communist society. And by car, I and a good traveling friend saw Czechoslovakia, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, East Germany. And we were in Berlin when, in one of lifetime's greatest coincidences, the Prime Minister of East Germany opened up the wall. And thousands of Germans were walking back and forth through Checkpoint Charlie. And in one evening, a mass audience in front of the Reichstag, I guess about 50,000, were singing the German national anthem, Deutschland über alles. People were singing and crying because at last Germany was going to be together again. I can't speak German, but we were crying with them. Before long, the Soviet Union broke apart. And about half of it declared independence and are now sovereign countries. But the Soviet Union broke apart peacefully, not because of our missiles and our Marines or Reaganomics. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. It broke down because it was failing to meet the needs of the people and was rife with graft and corruption as well as inequality. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it made me think of us. We've got CEOs earning multi-million-dollar annual salaries and generous benefits after they've torn our economy apart. None of them are in jail or have been fined. And our Congress earns a 17% approval rating in the public. Folks, we've got problems. And we can't affect Washington. But back at the ranch house in California, where we are, our educational system has got to prepare young people for the future that we are passing on to them, like my little grandson. But Americans are tough, hardworking, and innovating when we have to be. And I've noticed a number of innovative programs in education. 2 or 3 of them I want to mention to you briefly. There's a small elementary school district in San Diego County called Sweet River. After 4 years, from being one of the lowest achieving districts in San Diego County, it's among the very top of San Diego after 4 years. How come? One clue may be that this school district, which is about 55% Latino, and the rest, everything else, devised a program whereby instruction is in English, but all the students, part of the year, are totally immersed in Spanish. And the non-Spanish speaking kids learn Spanish. Another part of the year, all the students are completely immersed in Chinese. And they learn Chinese. And the rest of the year in English. Well, their standardized test results, I think they're called API, are among the highest in San Diego County. That calls for reassessment. My daughter, a university professor, is teaching a summer school course. I stopped by to see her, have a cup of coffee, maybe take a dip in the pool. She was working on her laptop. What are you doing, Carmen? Oh, I'm replying to emails. I'm teaching a course this summer. Oh, yeah, California history. Well, what are you doing home? Well, the course is on the web. I think we call it distant learning. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, Dad, enough students enrolled, paid their tuition, and I'm offering the course in California history. The students come from all over San Diego area? Oh, yeah, and farther away. This student I'm replying to is in Seoul, South Korea. South Korea? Yeah. That bears some examination. Huh? My alma mater, hoping that I put them in my will, sends me a lovely monthly magazine. In one of the recent issues, there was an article about how Harvard is putting its curriculum on the web. So you can take a course from Harvard in Korea, in Tibet, in New Zealand, Texas, or anywhere else where you have access to a computer. Not to be outdone, so is MIT putting its curriculum on the web. I wonder whether our community colleges that are being forced to do more and better with less resources might want to consider expanding distant learning and become an institution not just for California and nationally, but a global institution providing learning opportunities. I urge you to, bearing in mind the awards we're giving for innovation, think hard about what we're going to do in preparing our young people for the future that we are bestowing upon them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Julian Nava, for those words. Thoughtful, provocative, interesting to give thought to, and we certainly, at our Board of Governors meeting yesterday, happened to talk about distance learning. So we're going to do the best we can right now. About 9.3% of our courses are distance learning, but they're growing rapidly, And my guess is that in 10 years, we'll have an even higher percentage of our courses in distance learning. But thank you for those words, and thank you for your presence, and thank you for your years and years of great public service. And now we're going to get down to that part of the program where we're going to talk about actually those who indeed have illustrated what the Rice Awards are all about. You know, we sometimes talk the talk, but we like to walk the walk. And this morning we're going to talk about 3 great programs which have walked the walk. And the first of these programs we're going to honor is from Skyline College. Its president will begin the conversation, and we'll introduce some others from that particular college. It's great to see Regina Stanback Stroud here. I've known her for years. She at one time was president of the statewide academic senate, and is serving as president of Skyline College. And so she's going to talk to us about the Spark Point program, and I know we'll be thrilled to hear about it. Come forward here.
Toast did warn me that it was heavy. I mean, as in very heavy, he said. So I worked my muscles last night. Good morning, President Hamilstein, members of the board, and Chancellor, and esteemed members of the dais here with me today, and to all of you as well. First of all, on behalf of the San Mateo County Community College District Board of Trustees and Chancellor Ron Galatolo, and on behalf of the esteemed faculty, staff, and students at Skyline College, I want to thank you for bestowing this honor upon us and the Spark Point Center at Skyline College. And I want to take the time to acknowledge a few people here today who make it possible for us to provide the kinds of services that we do in the Spark Point. First, it's under the leadership of Dr. Joy Blake, who is the Vice President of Student Services. It's under the leadership of Dr. William Watson, who is the Director of the Spark Point Center. And it enjoys the support of the professors Virginia Padron here and Melanie Espelueva here. And also the backbone of the program, staff member Adolfo Oliva here. But we also have 2 students here who are students and student workers and Grove Scholars, and that's Ida Esquero and Keisha Ford. So I wanted to just acknowledge them, but I also want to acknowledge a key partner without whom the Spark Point Center would be possible, and that is our community partner, Ed Center, who is with the United Way of the Bay Area. You see, we had students at Skyline College that were starting to present to us with increasingly complex issues. They were issues or needs that were beyond the I need additional money for fees or I need additional money for books. They were having to make some choices about whether they're eating or feeding their children or staying in school or not. So they were making some very complex choices. And we definitely knew that there were some issues beyond just looking at straight issues around student success, that we had to look at issues around poverty in order to address the students' ability to be successful. And when I was the president of the Academic Senate for California Community Colleges, I had a chance to work with Dr. Rice because he committed his life to social justice. And so the receipt of this award is a sweet honor for me and for us. And he and I were kind of in cahoots together. You see, we were trying to get state policy to address issues of equity and diversity, and he was, as Mrs. Rice said, the more gentle giant, and I was the more vocal sidekick. And, you know, I would get into my little rants, spat out rants of, you know, needing to address major systems of domination and oppression and needing to interrupt these systems of unmitigated power and privilege and working toward hegemonic aims and justice, social justice and equity and blah, blah, blah. And the poor staff would look in the committee meeting, they trying to figure out what direction to go in, and they'd look at Dr. Rice, and Dr. Rice would just look up and say, what she said. And one day, He and I were at his daughter's home, Dr. Condoleezza Rice, provost at Stanford, and she had us at her house. We were doing a Affirmative Action and Cultural Diversity Committee meeting. And Condoleezza and I got into a discussion, and Dr. Rice saw me trying to fight the good fight. And on one end of the ideological continuum was me, and the other end was Condoleezza. And I think he felt sorry for me because she had me on the ropes. And he said, hey, stand back, gal. You come on over here and don't pay her no never mind. He said, because I taught her everything she knows. So Condoleezza and I both were smiling when, I think with some sort of relief of being rescued from each other. But, but we both were clear on one thing. We knew that Dr. Rice was a staunch advocate of equity and diversity. So this is the legacy he intended. And so we at Skyline College are very honored to be a small part of celebrating his legacy. And with that, I want to invite Dr. William Watson up to come in and to tell a little bit about SparkPoint and to introduce our student speaker. Thank you.
So good morning, everyone. I hope my remarks today honor the memory of my parents, Hubert and Helga Watson, who were civil rights workers in Mississippi. Thank you so much to the Board of Governors for this honor. We are grateful for the recognition. We recognize and appreciate the attention and support that follows such a public validation of our work. Mrs. Rice, it is indeed an honor to be here with you today. The award reminds us that the work we do today is made possible by the honorable legacies of those who go before us. I'll be reminded every day that the best work that we can do to live up to the standards so high of those who have gone before us is very important work. SparkPoint is a success and retention strategy that recognizes the importance of financial stability for people who are seeking to improve their lives. Our many services and resources that facilitate these goals are accomplished through a core service called financial coaching. SparkPoint features financial coaches who students and other members of the community can utilize like a personal trainer for financial fitness. So together we build budgets, we build credit scores, we build assets. We do all of this as a part of a plan to help people reach financial self-sufficiency. So this past year, we served about 1,500 people with financial coaching and other services that include banking services, career and employment services, food pantry. We distributed over $100,000 worth of food this year to people who needed food as a part of pursuing their educational goals. We also provided academic counseling, English language services, career and employment services, tax prep. There were 34 $2,000 scholarships that were distributed through the Grove Foundation to students pursuing career and technical education. We had many more services. I want to express a tremendous gratitude to our partners that include, as mentioned earlier, United Way of the Bay Area Ed Center. I'd like to acknowledge Emily Harpster, Lauren Needle, and others at United Way of the Bay Area who have done so much to help this partnership get off the ground and then be successful. I want to recognize our partners who are even co-locating services on site at Skyline College, which include the California Employment Development Department. Jewish Vocational Service is also co-located there. We have so many people, I'll try not to list them all, but so many people deserve recognition to make this partnership so successful, including we want to be grateful for the community collaborative funding that's a part of SB 70. That has been a core source of funding for our program that's helped to not only help the SparkPoint be successful at Skyline College, but to make that connection from high school to college for so many people who otherwise wouldn't be able to make that successful transition. We have Walter S. Johnson Foundation, Silicon Valley Community Foundation, Bay Area Workforce Funding Collaborative. Dr. Jessica Pitt's support has been invaluable to our success. The Joy Foundation, and most recently we've begun a partnership with the Center for Law and Social Policy and the American Association for Community Colleges to build support for people who are receiving financial aid, but to help map that support with public benefits that might be available to them as well. So creating partnerships beyond the college is a key component of what SparkPoint is all about. I want to express, and I don't know if I could possibly express how grateful I am to the president of Skyline College, Dr. Regina Stanback Stroud. The existence of SparkPoint today is totally a part of her vision for social justice and equity, and it's a real pleasure and an honor to get to serve under such visionary leadership. So many times in the past I've been at functions where the figurehead of the institution was honored and credited, and everybody kind of knew, well, they probably don't really even know what's going on. And some of you might know what I'm talking about. But I can tell you that Dr. Stanback Stroud has been intimately acquainted with and knows all of the details of the program and has urged us to succeed and do better, and has paved the way with supportive leadership that includes our Chancellor, Ron Galatolo, and our San Mateo County Community College Board of Trustees. I want to acknowledge people who are working with the program as well. Our Vice President of Student Services, Dr. Joy Lynn Blake, and colleagues who are not here, including Leanne Sipple-Shaw, who is the director of the English Language Institute, but also Academic Senate President at Skyline this year. And colleagues who are here today with me who have done so much to make this program successful. And as I call your name, I'd like for you to stand. Adolfo Leyva, the backbone mentioned earlier, please stand. Virginia Padron, Director of the Career Center. Melanie Espenueva, Director of our Financial Coaching Services. Our student staff, Irias Guerrero, who is also a former service recipient at Skyline, proud Grove Scholar. We're very proud of her today. And I would like to introduce our next speaker. Our next speaker is a person who is also a Grove Scholar from Skyline College, and I would like to use my introduction of her to promote our annual report, which is available on the back table. Her picture is featured here, and if you see her picture featured here, we have her picture on every piece of promotional material that comes out of SparkPoint at Skyline College. We love her. She makes us look good, and we're very proud of her. And I'd like to introduce her right now. Please come to the stage, Keisha Ford.
Thank you, Dr. Watson. Yes, that picture is everywhere. I can't get away from it. It escapes me. It's on walls. It's on hallways. People are going, hey, you're the girl from that poster. Anyway, good morning. It's an honor to stand here on behalf of the SparkPoint Center at Skyline College. I was a returning student. After nearly 2 decades away from an academic environment, I decided that what I wanted more than anything else was a college education. I didn't know how I was going to do it, and I didn't have the external support or the resources to make it happen, but I knew that that was what I wanted, so I was going to pursue it. So I enrolled at Skyline College as a freshman at 35 years old. After about 3 semesters rather, of struggling and trying to figure out how I was going to make things work, I was at the end of my rope, and I wasn't sure if I had made the right decisions, and I didn't know how I was going to see my goals through to completion. I was sitting in the cafeteria one day, and I overheard 2 students talking about this new program, the Grove Scholars Program, and they were telling how there was a scholarship for $2,000 for students enrolled in technical services programs. And while they were debating about whether or not they were going to apply, the age in me was grabbing my stuff and walking to their table asking them, where did I get an application? It was serendipitous because that day was the final day for applications. So I filled out my application right then, and I turned it in. And I sat and I waited for 2 weeks, checking my email regularly to see if I was going to be awarded. And I was. And it made all the difference. And $2,000 may not seem like a lot to each of you, but for a student with that particular semester, my textbook fees were $800. My living situation was interesting, and I was a web development student whose computer had just died, so that doesn't work. I was so grateful to be awarded, and what I thought was just going to be a monetary investment in me turned out to be so much more. The monthly programs and services helped me to reestablish myself financially. They gave me the tools that I needed to create a stronger financial foundation. The academic support and counseling that I received from the individuals at that table right there has been truly beneficial in my academic achievements. This past May, I graduated with a web development degree from Skyline College with high honors. And this fall, I'll be transferring to San Francisco State, where I will commute a visual communications degree. And I know that I owe most of that to the support that I received from the Spark Point Center at Skyline College. Thank you.
That's a great story, and I want you to indulge me for just a second for another story that Condoleezza Rice told us. And I've used that in my repertoire of stories to tell others about it because it's an illustration of what happened in this student's life. Condoleezza said that her grandfather, grandfather Rice, went to Stillman College with a bale of cotton for his first year. And he was able to cash that in. He desperately wanted a college education, but he came the second year and he didn't have any money or didn't have a bale of cotton. And they were saying, well, you know, looks like we're going to have to turn you away. And finally he said, is there any scholarship available here? They said, well, we have a scholarship for someone who desires to be a Presbyterian minister. He said, that's what I always wanted to be. And that's the story of how he became a Presbyterian minister, and how his son, John Rice, became a Presbyterian minister, and his granddaughter became Secretary of State. So that's a great story, and one I wanted to pass along to you that haven't heard it. Well, we have another great program that we're honoring today, and that's the program from Santa Barbara City College. And it's a program that has to do with rescuing and empowering those who have been released from the criminal justice system. So I don't know exactly what order they're in. I see Jack Friedlander there, but all right, you step forward and tell us about that great program at Santa Barbara City College.
Thank you very much. Very honored. I'm Marcia Wright. I'm the director of the EOPS program at Santa Barbara City College, and very honored to be here today representing the college, the EOPS program, and most importantly, the Transitions program. I want to thank the Board of Governors, the Foundation of California Community Colleges, the Communication Department, or Communication Division of the Chancellor's Office, and my two EOPS staffers in the Chancellor's Office, Cheryl and Kelly, for their support, their visions, and pursuing this award and giving us the opportunity to apply for and have the honor of receiving the Rice Diversity Award. I would like to recognize Santa Barbara City College staff that are here with me today. Traveling from Santa Barbara City College to Sacramento is a challenge. Last night, Sylvia drove approximately 7 hours to bring students up for the program. Sylvia Cortez, EOPS advisor. Martine Leyva, former student and founder of the Transitions program. Elson Tapia, student. Mauricio Isaac, student. Dr. Jack Friedlander, our Executive Vice President of Educational Programs. And it's really an honor to have Peter McDougall here as President Emeritus of Santa Barbara City College, and to thank him to have the foresight to hire me in 1984. He has given me the opportunity of a lifetime. During challenging financial times, more than ever, it takes creativity, commitment, and compassion to successfully run and develop programs such as the Transitions. I'm very fortunate at Santa Barbara City College that the commission or the commitment, The creativity and the compassion are in with the administration, our Santa Barbara City College Foundation, and the EOPS staff, but most importantly, our students. The Transitions program came about 4 years ago when Martine Leva came into my office requesting a support program for students with similar backgrounds such as his. I saw Martine as a student. He saw himself as an ex-con and parolee. Martine suggested during one of our meetings that we outreach to the community and encourage other parolees to come to college. Transitions was formed. We modeled Transitions after our Summer Bridge Running Start program, encouraging students to come to college who had not planned to come. From the Transitions program, Martine developed it, suggested it, and he does the best job describing it. I quote, "Transitions is a social justice movement that addresses recidivism, prison, poverty, and addiction. It's a movement that instills self-worth and self-esteem and validates an individual and brings the humanness out of the person who knows what living in a struggle is all about." Transitions is a 6-week summer bridge program for ex-cons or individuals on probation or parole. To me, Transitions gives individuals the opportunity to express, to experience, and to express what another life could be about. We provide a 6-week orientation to college services in the EOPS program, as well as teach a course in college skills and success. The successes are easy. The Martines, the Elsons, the Mauricios. They were given an opportunity and excelled. They work hard, take advantage of available resources, and they produce. The students I really believe Transitions affects are those that slip. We have students that violate parole and go back to prison. They do another stint at Wasco. My children say that I'm the only mother they know whose phone number and name is known at Wasco Prison. After students return to school, they don't want to go back to prison. They've transitioned. And again, we're able to celebrate another success with another student. I would now like to introduce to you Mauricio Isaac. He's a transition alum, an academic scholar, an accomplished tutor, a community volunteer, and my friend. Mauricio.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mauricio Isaac. It's a true honor to be here today. I would like to thank the Board of Government and the people in support for programs such, they're really changing lives. And I say that because it's been my experience. Having gone through a rocky start in life, one filled with addiction and institutions, made it really difficult for me to achieve any success in my life. After being released out of a California Department Correction facility, it was one of the most challenging things for me to do, especially because everything that I owned, everything that I possessed was in my cell. Out here, I really didn't have anything, and I felt like when I was in the institution, I felt like I belonged to something, and when I was released, I felt completely alienated. I felt like society, like my options in society were limited, especially having no work experience, having nothing to put down on a resume. One of the choices was going back to school. However, I dropped out of school in the 7th grade. So going to college, when that was brought up to my attention as an option, was pretty much, I thought it was impossible. I don't belong in college. I put myself down. Nevertheless, I was introduced to the transitions program. After I enrolled in there, I was given the study skills, the support, the guidance, especially from my peers and counselors. After doing the program, the summer program at EOPS, I've excelled. I just caught fire. Being introduced to the multiple disciplines of education really opened my eyes and gave me a new perspective in life. Today, I'm an honor student at Santa Barbara City College. It's my 2nd year, and I hold a 4.0 GPA. Thank you. I'm also a member of Phi Data Kappa. I'm a vice president of the EOPS club, as well as another scholarly. I'm the president of another scholarly club. I tutor for 2 English classes. I'm a math tutor as well, and I've been nominated as the Outstanding Student of the Year in English Skills. I've been given numerous scholarships and awards that have fueled my motivation. And in the spring of 2013, I will be going overseas to Rome, Italy, to study abroad for a semester. I'm just grateful, and you guys are really changing lives, and I thank you guys. Thanks.
And very briefly, very quickly, I'd like to introduce Dr. Jack Freelander, our Executive Vice President. Thank you.
Well, I was told before I got up here that I have about 30 seconds. First of all, Marcia didn't mention that 84% of the transition students continue their education at Santa Barbara City College in the fall. And then what we have them do is go into a very expressive success program, which tells the students, you go full-time, you follow our rules, and we guarantee you'll complete all your basic skills in less than half the time it would take other students. And the rates in that are 85 to 90%. They get through a year of math, a year of English, in 1 semester of English, 1 semester of math. They get through a year, and they go on. 95% of those at-risk students, it was over 300 this past year, and we're serving close to over 400 this next year, stayed in school full-time and continued on to the spring semester. It's phenomenal. And these transition students, the most at-risk students, will be going into that program, and they'll achieve the same results also. 3 quick points. One, why are we doing this? At a time when our budgets, like each of your budgets, have been cut to smithereens, why are we going after and reaching out to an at-risk population that's costly to serve at a time when we're being held more and more to the outcomes and accountability? Why are we going out of our way to serve parolees, people who have been recently released from prison at a time when they're most at risk and with her outcome measures? And we're doing it for the reasons that Jack Scott mentioned. It's the dream of community colleges, why we're founded. Give people the second and third choices. It's the people's college. And what we want to do is prove that not only are we providing access to people who have a second, third chance to live and achieve the American dream, but we're going to make sure that they, everything possible, that as many of them as possible not only enter the institution, but complete the institution and move on successfully. And we think with all the parolees being released now, from prisons, that we're committed to having a model for this state and the country that will say for the investment that they make, which is a small investment, the returns to these individuals, their families, the communities, and the state in terms of return on investment will be second to none. And we're out to prove in a couple of years we'll come back and demonstrate that once again, California community colleges are rising to the occasion and finding out innovative approaches to solve society's problems, and we'll all be better for it. So thank you very much.
Well, on occasions, I use the phrase that we're in the business of transforming lives, but that phrase is never as vivid as when you actually see it in person, when you see someone stand before you and talk about the change that one of our community colleges made for him. And here's someone who was a parolee and now is a 4.0 student. You can't think of a much greater transformation than that. So thank you very much, Santa Barbara City College. And certainly, I'm also thankful to the student who so powerfully talked about what the program had done. And now, the third recipient of these Rice Awards is the AMEND program. This is a program that is particularly designed for African American males. And we have with us this morning Dr. Edward Bush, who will come and speak about it, then introduce then Marquette Johnson.
Good morning. On behalf of the 18 members that make up the African American Male Educational Network and Development Organization, I would like to say thank you to Chancellor Jack Scott, the Board of Governors, the Foundation, and the John Rice Diversity Award Committee for this prestigious honor. Words cannot adequately convey what this acknowledgement means to our organization. We would also like to extend our gratitude to Linda Beam and Susan Bray for their nomination, and just as importantly, for your ongoing support and advocacy for the mission, purpose, and work of AMEND. Before I continue, I would like to also recognize the members of AMEND that were able to make the trip today. Dr. Keith Curry, treasurer of our organization. Soon to be doctor, he actually defends in 2 weeks, and I'm on his committee, and I promise not to be too rough on him. Aaron Vines, executive board member. Then we have Dr. Terrence Elliott, Dr. Michael Marion, and Morel Green, members of our organization. Please stand. The disconcerting social, economic, and educational outlook facing African American males has been well documented. Many of you here may be all too familiar with the statistics that underscores the plight of this group. Data such as homicide being the leading cause of death for African American males between the ages of 16 and 24. The number that shows that there are more African American males in prison than enrolled in college. And closer to home, we see that the majority of our colleges within our community college system, African American males are often at the bottom of most educational success indicators, which includes persistence, transfer, retention, and graduation rates. Scholars who study this issue has appropriately labeled this condition as a state of emergency. Out of this crisis, AMEND was formed. And it is this same crisis that continues to inform and drive our work. When the organization was founded a little over 6 years ago, we asked ourselves two very simple questions. If not us, then who? And if not now, then when? Towards this end, a men who is comprised of African American male administrators from community colleges throughout the state have committed themselves to do the necessary and sometimes exhaustive work to mitigate the deleterious institutional and social barriers that impede the success of African American males. I say sometimes exhaustive because everyone involved have full-time administrative positions, which is 50, 60 hours a week. So on top of that work is when the work of a men takes place. A men's work has been informed by this simple methodological approach, which is to touch students and change institutions. We teach African American males to be resilient and how to successfully navigate college. And conversely, we address institutions because we recognize that too many of our students succeed despite the system and not because of the system. A men works with colleges to build capacity in order to identify and eradicate institutional barriers that stymie the success of these students. Simply, we understand that how colleges serve, teach, and deliver must drastically change in order to see a drastic shift in the performance of African American males. For a relatively young organization, we have had tremendous success. This past year, a men solidified a partnership with the Center for Research on Educational Access and Leadership at Cal State Fullerton to develop the Amen C-Real Institute for the study of African American males in community colleges. Our student mentorship program has formally been in place for 2 years, with 40 of our students involved in the mentor program having transferred to 4-year colleges. Our annual African American Male Summits, which focus on issues relating to the success of African American males, attract professionals from across the country. Amen has held 5 conferences in its 6-year history with an average attendance of over 300 participants, including board members, administrators, faculty, staff, and students, along with community activists. With this in mind, I want you to go ahead and plug it into your iPads and your phones that next year's conference will be held at the LAX Marriott on March 7th and 8th, and we invite you all to attend. This year's conference theme is entitled Unfinished Business. Likewise, as an organization and as a system, we know that there's a lot more work that needs to be done in order to improve the success of African American males. The highlight of our conference has always been the presence of our students, who come out in huge numbers. Last year alone, we had over 150 African American male students attend our conferences, with many commenting that their conference attendance as being life-changing. In fact, you would have the opportunity to hear from one of the students who attended last year's conference who will share with you his experience. And as Marquette Jefferson comes up, on behalf of all the recipients, I'd like to congratulate you for all of your work and your effort. And it's on their behalf as well that we'd like to thank the Board of Governors, the Community College Foundation, Chancellor Scott, and the staff that's responsible for organizing today's event. Specifically, we'd like to acknowledge the work of Tosh and also the Communication Division of the Chancellor's Office. At this time, I'd like to call up Mr. Marquette Jefferson.
Good morning, everyone. Goodness, I am nervous. My name is Marquette Jefferson. I attend school at American River College. My major is journalism. I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, the home of Elvis Presley, Memphis barbecue ribs, down home blues. That's where I'm from. The things I took for granted. Okay, we're gonna leave it at that. Take for granted. We're gonna come back to that. For the first time in my life, I have heroes and mentors that don't play basketball, that don't sing rap music. For the first time in my life. These guys, I'm gonna tell you how we got started. I came to American River. I came to California on vacation. and stayed. Had a friend in Citrus Heights and another friend that never hung out. Like, wait, why are you not hanging out? Oh, I have to go to school. I'm like, man, you're poor. How can you afford school? The Board of Governors, the BOG fee waiver, said, what? You can just go to school based off not having income? Yes, it's available for everyone. What? I go back home to Memphis. I turn around and come right back. So I had to sit out 1 year and a day to be eligible. The things that the students take for granted. I came here and blew out the program. Journalism. Pretty much done. I'm missing Spanish 402 right now, and that's prep for Sac State. But they allowed me to miss a test today to prep for Sac State. Dr. David Vire, and he's the president of American River College. And Dr. Pamela Walker, she's the vice president. I have never had a father figure in my life. The conversations passing through the halls with this gentleman, how he met his high school sweetheart and married her, how he went to war and didn't want to become a lieutenant. He was drafted. He didn't want to become. All these little things that he talked about, he don't realize that I took home with me. Pamela Walker, she said, Marquette, I see that you always committed to helping people. I started out as work-study student, temporary staff like SPA, and then I got hired in financial aid. She said, I think you need to see the men's conference. These are scholars. These men are under 40 years old, and majority of them have doctorate degree. I have never seen anything like that. So I go down to the conference, all men conference, African Americans with suits. I walked in the lobby and I was like, whoa. And you should have seen, women, we can't leave you out because it was ladies there too. They was dressed up. Trust me, we can't leave you ladies out. It wasn't only blacks, it was Mexican, it was everyone there. And everyone there to take this speech home. I mean, take speeches to learn. And they said, what can you do for other people? I am not an all-A student, but I know I can work harder than anybody else. In financial aid, I answer questions that you would not believe. The Department of Education is cutting financial aid. Pay attention to your students in August, because they're going to have some real concerns. That's my time. I see the speech guy back there saying, yo, this is it. I wish I could share more, but don't take these little things for granted. Don't allow your students to take things for granted. I went back home to Memphis. I actually went to Graceland. It was 3 miles away from my grandmother's house. The things we take for granted. I mean, Elvis enriched my life. I'm all shook up. Remember that?
I know I, along with the rest of my colleagues on the Board of Governors, I'm sure all of you want to congratulate all of our award winners. This is always, I think, the Board of Governors' favorite meeting of the year because, as the Chancellor said, we get to see the real thing, and we saw it today. We wish all of you the very best. Congratulations on your good work. I now close this meeting of the Board of Governors. Thank you all for being here.